Señoras y señores, the hate debate, el debate del odio. Debemos de tolerar al intolerante. Hoy, en estos momentos, en el mundo, están censurando, corriendo, prohibiendo, expulsando a pensadores, a profesores, a investigadores, porque no piensan como los demás quieren que uno piense. O, seamos más específicos, pueden pensar lo que quieran, pero no decirlo, no escribirlo, no promulgarlo. Genialidades como Steven Pinker se les está acusando de haber utilizado determinadas palabras y se propone que se le expulse de asociaciones lingüísticas de nombres reconocidos. Gente no tan famosa, no tan importante, no se le permite ser invitada a dar clases de distintos temas. Por un lado, mucha gente piensa que la palabra lleva a la consecuencia de la violencia, que simplemente como decir lo que tú piensas puede producir, incentivar o crear odio y violencia. Para otros, sobre todo para los que defienden el artículo primero de la Constitución norteamericana y de muchas constituciones, la libertad está en juego. Y lo que tú debes hacer no es censurar, sino proponer otras ideas de igual magnitud, con el mismo espacio, con el mismo tiempo, para poder replicar y contraargumentar. ¿Ustedes qué opinan? Por ejemplo, Wagner ha sido prohibido en muchas ocasiones y en muchos espacios, sobre todo en Israel, de permitirle ser escuchado, porque a mucha gente le afecta el sonido y la música, porque le recuerda la tragedia del Holocausto. Para otros, de una manera muy similar, no se puede hablar de ningún tipo de comentario que pueda afectar los intereses de la gente de alguna minoría. En Estados Unidos, abogados como Alan Dershowitz y muchos otros han dicho basta. Esto de la política correctitud está siendo una incorrectitud libertaria. Hoy, después de que firmaron mucha gente una carta en una revista que se llama Harper's Magazine, tendremos un debate a fondo sobre el tema. Acompáñenos. Bienvenidos a su programa de Cabeza con Andrés Roemer. Hoy más que nunca el debate de la libertad de expresión. ¿Hasta dónde se debe de permitir y tolerar el discurso del odio o no del odio, del contenido del que piensa distinto a ti? Acaba de publicarse un artículo en la revista Harper donde más de 120 intelectuales y periodistas están protestando porque hay una enorme censura contra la libertad de expresión. Este es un gran debate. En inglés lo llamamos the hate debate. En español, ¿debemos tolerar a los intolerantes? Con nosotros tres distinguidas personalidades. Bienvenidos al programa. Nadine, welcome everybody of you. Okay, Ariel and Brendan. Nadine, please introduce yourself. You have 30 seconds. Show us your credentials.
Thank you so much, Andres. Well, to pick up with your wonderful introduction, I'm proud to be one of the signers of that very important and necessary letter in Harper's Magazine. As the daughter of a Holocaust survivor and somebody who has been subject to hate speech myself, misogynistic and anti-Semitic hate speech, I have dedicated my entire career to human rights. And based on that experience, I absolutely believe and know that robust freedom of speech, robust enough even to encompass hateful and hated ideas, is essential for
you will
human
have
rights.
more time. You will have more time.
Thank
Ariel,
you.
preséntate, por favor. Introduce yourself. You have 30 seconds.
Hello, my name is Ariel Helblum. I'm a lawyer and I'm the director for Latin America for the Simon Wiesenthal Center, an organization, a human rights organization in non-government, NGO, pardon, an NGO organization of human rights international one from LA, from Los Angeles and all the world.
Thank you very much, Ariel. Mi queridísimo Brendan, it's your turn. 30 seconds.
My name is Brendan O'Neill. I am a journalist and editor based in London. I edit a radical humanist magazine called Spiked. I have been the victim of censorship. I was banned from speaking at Oxford University 5 years ago, which caused an international fuss. And I also am a lifelong campaigner for freedom of speech for everyone, whether I agree with them or disagree with them.
Welcome. Well, each of you will have 2 minutes to open your statement, to say why you think the way you think. And on this occasion, Ariel, you are by yourself against 2 other, well, big country advisories, but I mean, at the end, we want to learn from each other. Ariel, would you like to begin? Would you like to start? Or you want to be the last one?
Yeah, sure. 2 to 1, give me the last one.
Okay, empezamos contigo, Brendan. 2 minutes, it's your time.
Okay, so I think freedom of speech, by its definition, has to extend to everybody. People we love, people we dislike, even people who are hateful and prejudiced and obnoxious. And there are 2 reasons why I think hate speech has to be free speech. The first is because so many legitimate moral points of view are now defined as hate speech. So, for example, Christian opposition to same-sex marriage, which I might well disagree with, but I recognize is a legitimate point of view, that is now referred to as hate speech. J.K. Rowling, the cultural phenomenon, the author of the Harry Potter books, is now constantly defined as hateful and transphobic because she believes that there are a difference between men and women and that a man cannot become a woman and vice versa. I think that's a legitimate point of view.
Thank you very much. Meanwhile, please, if you could take Nadine, you have 2 minutes, please, to share with us why you think the way you think.
Thank you so much. And in my, I'm sorry, too long introduction, I was segueing in from who I am to what my beliefs are, because they stem from my lifelong experience as a human rights crusader. I have seen throughout the decades that I have worked tirelessly for racial justice, for gender justice, against police abuse, all of the great causes, that civil rights, that a robust freedom of speech is the absolute prerequisite for any of those movements to be successful. And conversely, censorship, including under the aegis of censoring so-called hate speech or disinformation, use whatever loaded term you like, has always disproportionately been used to silence the very voices that, from my perspective, are advocating for justice. We see that today with the Black Lives Matter movement, which are constantly being denounced as engaging in hateful speech. My organization that I was proud to head for so many years, the American Civil Liberties Union, actually had a case in the United States Supreme Court this year in which there was an attempt to, in effect, bankrupt the Black Lives Matter movement because somebody who was attending one of their rallies assaulted a police officer. And the speech was blamed for it. On the positive side, I have to say that I have seen the writings of so many human rights activists all over the world, including in Mexico, including throughout Latin America, among other parts of the world, who say censorship is ineffective at best, counterproductive at worst. Let's move more in the direction of counter speech, anti-discrimination laws, enforcing laws against actual
Thank you very
crimes.
much, Nadine. You will have more time later. Ariel, it's your turn.
Okay, for me, hate speech is not free speech. It's not the same. We need some rules. If I cut your microphone and I say my voice is better than yours, you want to accept that. But I want to hear your voice. I am not a guy who are saying that my voice is louder than you. But there are people that, yes, they are. And these people are not in the same game that we want to be. We haven't to be naive or to be proud. We have to know that there are people that they don't want to hear us because they say or they think they are better than us. You have two cases. Let me have now. Brenton Tarrant and Robert Bowers. They were. They said it's not time to talk anymore. We need action, and they went to kill people in Pittsburgh. 11 people in a synagogue, and the other one 42 people in 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. If we don't have the time to say that this speech is not free speech, we have to cut them off before they went to kill people.
Thank you very much. Again, now you have many things to think about what Ariel has said. Is your turn, Brendan. How would you answer to his opinions?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. I think we have to make a distinction between speech and violence. And I think speech should never be punished. The expression of opinion, even hateful opinion, should never be punished. But people who are preparing acts of violence and, of course, executing acts of violence absolutely should be punished to the highest extent of the law. And I think if we confuse speech and violence, we really get into a dangerous situation, because we arrive in a situation where anyone could potentially be punished simply for what they say. So I think we have to maintain an incredibly clear line between the expression of opinion, even hateful opinion, and the execution of an act of violence, which is an incredibly unacceptable situation. We all agree on that. We have to maintain that distinction in order to defend freedom and punish violence.
Thank you very much. It's your turn, Nadine. 1 minute.
I would just say in response to Ariel, first of all, thank you for the great work that the Simon Wiesenthal Center is doing as the, again, daughter of a Holocaust survivor who lost so many relatives in Nazi Germany. If I truly believed that censoring hate speech would have prevented the Holocaust or would prevent discrimination now, I would be all in favor of it. But censorship was tried in the Weimar Republic. Nazis were suppressed. The leading Jewish organizations of the day said that the hate speech laws were enforced vigorously, and obviously that did nothing to prevent the rise of Hitler and genocide. One of the problems was that actual violence, going back to Brendan's distinction, was not, in fact, punished. And the Nazis literally got away with murder and assault against their political enemies. So that's why I say, and that's why, more to the point, human rights champions throughout Latin America, including Mexico, are saying, let's really vigorously enforce the anti-discrimination laws, the laws against discriminatory violence.
Thank you very much. Ariel, it's your turn.
To have this violence getting on, you need followers. And to get these followers, you need to speak to them, and you have all the free speech rules to get to these followers. When they have the number, it's late. So you need to be aware and to fight against this with free speech. These are people that they don't want the same rules that you and I and everyone here in this room are wanting to play with. So it's late when you don't have the time to react. And I think that we have to make a distinction between these rules and censorship. Censorship is to cut someone to say what he thinks, and other thing is not.
You will have more time just to, but please finish your idea. The difference between censorship and, please finish.
Yes, but this is not censorship. I don't want someone to don't have the possibility to tell what he thinks. But when the speech is proposing violence and it's proposing not to respect the free speech of the other, you have to cut them off.
Okay, now we are in a problem because where is the line? And my question, first of all, starts with you, Brendan. I agree with you, actually, that the difference between ideas and violence. But following the words of Ariel, some people believe that some words and some ideas that you express freely have consequences, and those consequences could be violence. And that's where the line becomes very not white and black. How could you answer to that point?
I think we have to be clear about what we mean by incitement to violence. If it is incitement to imminent violence, so if I were to say to someone sitting right next to me, let's go and attack that person, then that's a clear incitement to violence. But if it's an expression of a hateful opinion, then I think that has to be acceptable within the realm of freedom of speech. You know, a good example of this is the massacre at Charlie Hebdo in Paris, when a group of journalists were slaughtered at their desks for the supposed crime of mocking Muhammad and making fun of Islam. A lot of people said about those journalists that they were insulting people, they were inciting people to feel bad, and some people even said that they incited the violence against themselves. We have to be very careful when we talk about incitement, and we have to, I think, err on the side of the right of people to say things that might be unfashionable and difficult and controversial.
Thank you very much.
May I
Nadine?
add something to that? Thank you so much, because this is exactly what happened in that Black Lives Matter case that I mentioned earlier, because the leaders of the Black Lives Matter protest were saying many highly critical statements about police officers and accusing them of unjustified violence and homicide and racial discrimination. And so the argument that was accepted by lower courts was that those speakers were inciting the violence that then occurred, including the assassinations of 3 police officers in Dallas. The same thing happened during the civil rights movement in the 20th century. If that loose concept of incitement were allowed to be punished, then all movements for social change would be thwarted. But if there is a tight and direct connection between the speech and the violence, then indeed it should and is appropriately suppressed under law, international human rights law, as well as even under the very strict First Amendment.
Nadine, just very quickly. I mean, we want to have, well, I believe in freedom of speech like Ariel does, and I think everybody. However, sometimes what it happened, for example, at Harper Letters, the people that are signing are very powerful and very influential people. And the voice of those that don't have the power, the resources, those minorities that, okay, welcome freedom of speech, but during the Nazi era, the Jewish and the homosexuals and the Gitanos, etc., didn't have the space, didn't have even the power to talk. What would you say there? What can we do like that? The voice of the invisible and the voice of the people that do not have voice could have a microphone. What's your opinion and how could we work?
That is absolutely essential. There is no meaningful equality. There is no meaningful freedom of speech unless they are equally accessible to everybody. And this was the great promise of the internet and why the ACLU fought against censorship of the internet, because it has the great promise, as the Supreme Court said, of enabling every single person with access to it to reach and communicate with every single other person in the world. But here, I believe that government and civil society really have a responsibility to make sure that those resources and the education to make use of them effectively are available to every single individual, especially those who have traditionally been marginalized and excluded. And it has to come with very, very serious media literacy education, so people learn how to not believe everything they see, to question, to fact check, to find reliable
Thank you very much. Ariel, the line between censorship and violence, again, as you know, the American Constitution allows that you think and you say whatever you want to, even if it is a hate speech. However, there are very few exceptions, like extortion, for example, and things like that. But many times you won't agree with the person that will talk bad about, for example, the Jewish community. You are from the Simon Wiesenthal Center. But I mean, you probably do not agree with them, but that doesn't mean that that will bring violence itself. How could you really put the line, and who decides who has the last word and what's good for and what's wrong?
Okay, we are going for all the communities, and not only the North American community. I envy the North American society or English society. They never had totalitarianism on their own. We had in Latin America, we had, and in other places we had. So if you know that the rules are very clear. If one of the rules is not to get with the system, and my free speech is to go against the system, and the system is not to give you the free speech, that's the line. That's the line.
Thank you very much. I'm really sorry that time is over. It has been an amazing and deep thinking talk, and I hope to see you again in another debate. Ariel, I know that in English and Spanish you were by yourself and in another language. Thank you very much to the three of you. Señoras y señores, hoy más que nunca estamos en el tema de la libertad de expresión. En todo el mundo existe esta ideología de lo políticamente correcto y de castigar, expulsar, correr, denigrar y, por qué no decirlo, exiliar y generar ostracismo con quien piensa distinto, donde el punto de la palabra se convierte en violencia. Esto fue De Cabeza con Andrés Roemer. Nos vemos el próximo domingo. Buenas noches. Muchas gracias.
Aquí en Descubrimiento siempre estamos buscando la forma de cuidar al medio ambiente, y hoy vamos a descubrir 4 tips que te van a ayudar no solo a ti, sino también al planeta. Cómo gastar menos gasolina. Recuerda que tú y yo estamos interactuando a través de la modalidad instantánea, donde tú me escribes y yo te contesto. Acompáñame. Hay detalles que parecen muy pequeños, pero no lo son. Por ejemplo, es la presión de los neumáticos. Si estos siempre están en óptimas condiciones, el coche no se va a esforzar y así vas a ver un cambio a la hora de pagar tu gasolina. Mantener el coche en una velocidad constante. Cuando hacemos esto, el coche no solo tiene buena condición, sino que no tiene altas ni bajas a la hora de acelerar. Por lo que te puedes dar cuenta que cuando haces arrancones, no solo te ves como una persona poco inteligente, sino que también gastas mucho dinero en gasolina. Algo que también está muy mal y no lo sabemos tal vez, es que cuando estamos parados tenemos que apagar el motor. Está comprobado que a los 10 minutos en esta condición empieza a gastar 0.13 litros de gasolina, lo cual pues no nos suena muy correcto, ¿verdad? ¿Cuántos no traemos nuestro closet entero o nuestro equipo de trabajo en la cajuela? Bueno, déjame decirte que estas son cargas innecesarias, peso muerto, lo que quiere decir que nuestro coche no puede andar con todo lo que a ti se te ocurra, además de tu persona y tus acompañantes. Revisa qué es lo que necesitas y ocupas y elimina lo que se puede quedar en la casa. Y bueno, hoy descubrimos que podemos ayudar al planeta y también a nuestro bolsillo. Recuerda que tú y yo estamos interactuando a través de la modalidad instantánea, donde tú me escribes y yo te contesto. Te veo en otro descubrimiento.